Shooting some analog with the AutoFocus. Hey guys, my name is Mark, and this is a 23-year-old camera. And even after all these years, it still works. Now, despite it being completely obsolete in almost every way compared to a modern camera, I wanted to dedicate a video exploring the camera itself to see how it holds up after so many years, and more importantly, to see if a camera like this still has a place in this creative space going into 2020.
Snowy. I got it.
This is the Sony Handycam Vision CCD TRV99 NTSC Hi8 camcorder. Now Hi8 is a tape format similar to VHS and uses these 8mm cassettes. It was introduced by Sony to counter the introduction of Super VHS in 1989. And it was one of the final iterations in the evolution of analog videotape formats that began 60 years ago with massive 2-inch wide reel-to-reel broadcast videotapes. The camera itself is a nice overall size and fits comfortably in one hand, with the record button nested right under where your thumb sits naturally. There's a standby switch here as well, which makes it so you can put your camera to sleep to conserve battery when not in use. It's got a color viewfinder, which it proudly states right here, but not only that, it's got a flip-out color LCD screen that was perfect for vlogging if that was your thing in 1997.
Hey, don't swear. It's a nice camera.
Now, the Sony video lens has a focal range between 4.1mm to 73.8mm. And the zoom function is capable of an 18 times optical zoom, but you can push that to 72 times if you want to go into digital zoom, which I would actually highly recommend against unless you like pixels. Now the zoom function is variable speed, which is nice for those controlled dramatic zooms or even punchier snap zooms. By the way, the W and the T on the camera and screen here mean wide and telephoto, in case you were wondering. Banging off the shot list for this intro. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. Now I'm going to do the POV running, and the fall I've just captured with the slider. I'm going to insert some digital lasers later on, just hokey. It should be fun though. Now there's a handy steady shot function to help smooth out shaky footage. And you can optionally turn it off, but again, I would recommend against it unless you're going for something very specific. Now, a built-in lens cap keeps this lens protected nicely when the camera is powered off. Now, it flips open automatically when you power the camera on and closes when you turn it off. I don't think I ever really appreciated this feature when I was 17, but what did I appreciate when I was 17? Now, this lens has a minimum focusing distance of like 1 inch when fully zoomed out or in wide mode. I mean, look at this. The camera is basically touching the lens, and the lens is still in focus. Now, the autofocus on this lens is actually really impressive for 1997, even by today's standards, really. It's also really fast, which is nice, so you don't even really have to worry about losing focus on a shot for too long. Now, you can switch to manual focus, but it's Not very satisfying. This little wheel here is your manual focus control, but it's not a particularly friendly mechanic.
This is where I want to land, right here. Right here's where I want to land.
Now the mic isn't bad, able to record in hi-fi stereo. It's a camera mic, so anytime you can record clean audio, I'd recommend it. There is a mic input here, so you can plug an external mic into it for cleaner audio recording. One fun little feature this camera has, which is super cool, night vision. Now flip this little switch and an IR beam will shoot out of this spot right here. Unfortunately, you're mostly limited to what the IR light can illuminate. Although be careful what version of this camera you have, because wearing certain clothes, the night vision can expose a little more than you want.
Hey, dude!
Let me shake your hand.
You got a Sony!
This is my business. Can you see through my clothes?
And one of the craziest things about this camera is the battery endurance. This lithium-ion battery came in addition to the regular battery, which I swear I don't think we ever use, because this battery on a full charge can run, it says, for 522 minutes. Now, even after 23 years, this battery still holds a full charge. And of course, the battery duration is reduced when recording with the LCD screen out, or if you're recording in a colder environment, but still, like, you can shoot all day with this thing and not even begin to worry about the battery. Now the camera has a VTR mode, which allows you to play back the footage you've recorded. Not really a breakthrough feature these days, but back then it was the only way you could really watch back your footage, which makes this feature so great today. It's because it's the only way you can really play back the old footage you shot with this camera. So all those embarrassing moments you thought died with the format can still be watched over and over and over again. Now the camera has DC output connections here for RCA cables, but also has an S-video output if you want to maintain a higher image output quality. Now, even by today's standards, I do feel the functionality of this camera is pretty great. But despite that, there are a few things about it that make you think, oh yeah, this is a 23-year-old camera. The image quality being the biggest factor. In a world where 4K is becoming the standard, this thing isn't even close to that. Actually, HD looks glorious compared to this. With a basic standard resolution of 640 by 480, the image quality is a dead giveaway. This camera is outdated. Now, just to illustrate, this is what SD 4x3 footage looks like in a 4K
timeline. Is that my voice? Is that my voice?
Now, since these old tape formats aren't plug and play, drag and drop, you have to buy an RCA to USB adapter just to transfer the footage to your computer. It's easy, but it's an extra step and an extra cost. Now, I did an in-depth review on it linked below if you want to check out that process. So, now that we've looked at the camera itself, it sort of begs the question, why you might want to shoot with this camera or a camera like it in 2020. Now for me, it comes down to the aesthetic. The footage that comes out of this camera has a distinct 1990s vibe, and if whatever it is you're shooting has a motivated reason to capture this aesthetic, shooting with this camera is a great option. You can definitely achieve the same sort of vibe with digital filters that mimic this kind of look, but I personally think this way is just way more fun. Plus, it's amazing shooting with this camera again after so long, and if it works, why not use it? So, if you're looking to pick up one of these old format cameras, I would highly recommend the Sony Handycam Vision CCD TRV 99. Between 1997 and 2001, I shot almost everything with this camera, and it's been through a lot. This thing takes a licking, and even after all these years, keeps on ticking. So what do you guys think? Do these cameras have a place in today's video market? What are some cool creative uses you'd like to see shot with this aesthetic? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. Well, that's it for this video, guys. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time in 2020. All right, time to capture all this footage.
All right, doing my fall stunt right now. The slider is sliding.
How's that?